As Judy said, I don't have any agenda this year. Happy to answer questions. I'll give you a little introduction about myself and a few brief thoughts, and then just open it up and take them as they come. So I'm Thad Wilson. I work for a company called Unicap. We are public finance consultants. We help cities, counties, real property developers set up districts such as this. We help public financing of public improvements. We work across the country. We're headquartered in Maryland. I work out of Charleston, South Carolina, but generally cover the entire Southeast. Lancaster County is my client, so we work for the county. We don't work for the developer. We're not bond underwriters. We don't work for the bond holders. We work for counties or cities. So in this case, we work for Lancaster County. I serve in capacity as the administrator of the district. What that means is I help this thing run as smoothly as possible. One of the things that I do is I answer questions. Another thing I do is I help with what we call in general the annual calculations of the assessments, which ultimately lead to a dollar figure on your tax bill. Another thing we do is we help with what's called continuing disclosure, which is more a function of providing information to the bond market about how the district occurs. So we have a broad range of functions. I wasn't involved in my firm from the start, helped create this district, and then independent of that, as a continuation of that, we help the county administer the district. We've been involved with this district from its creation. We are, self-included, well aware of the ebbs and flows of it, and have been involved in the, for lack of a better word, the restructuring of Edenmore and Walnut Creek and the updating of it. I'm happy to be here. We don't do this with great regularity, but we come to meetings such as this with some regularity. Over the course, to kind of put it in context, over the course of the last month, I've probably had somewhere between 15 and 20 phone calls from residents here who've had questions. That's common, that's about right. I've had another 15 or 20 phone calls from residents over at Sun City across 521, that's also an assessment district. And we've got a variety of other districts around South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia that we tend to. The changes that happened over the last year have been largely about splitting what was called the Edenmore District into 3 parts. I suspect most people here live in what is now called Bond Area 1. Think of that as just a geographic split of the original district. Bond Area 1 was created for a variety of reasons, not least of which was to try to reduce the assessments paid by property owners in Bond Area 1. That was culminated in a February bond issuance that refunded part of the original bonds that were issued back in 2006. So think of it this way, there's a big Edenmore district, now it's going to be a couple thousand homes. The first couple phases got built, and it actually added up to about 840 homes. That was well developed as a function of most of the homes good folks such as you live in. The decision was made, let's carve out that piece, call that Bond Area 1, let's do a bond issue to refund part of the original bond, let's get a better interest rate, and let's see what we can do to lower the assessment. So that has happened. As I say, I think most people in this room are probably in Bond Area 1. Historically, my firm represented the entire Edenmore district, which became the entire Walnut Creek district. I stand here just as the administrator of what's called Bond Area 1. So I no longer work for the county. My firm doesn't work for the county for Bond Area 2 and 3. I'm not here to talk about that. If by chance you live in one of the recently created townhomes, I can direct you to the right folks to talk to. The developer has continued to develop Bond Area 2. They are in the process of selling homes there. I am not perfectly up to date on Bond Area 2. It is possible some people in this room live in Bond Area 2. I don't have all the answers for that. I can kind of talk about that generally. What I can talk about in great detail is Bond Area 1, which, as I say, is the first call it 840 single-family parcels here at Walnut Creek. I'll stress again, Walnut Creek Bond Area 1 is a defined area. It's kind of got a funny shape, but it's got a clear pathway forward. It's got a set geographic area. The developer still owns some land in Bond Area 1, 700 to 800 homes will ultimately be built in Bond Area 1. This gentleman's got a map that's potentially going to help me demonstrate that, although it's not marked with the same thought process, but we can get back into that if you like. And thank you. The I'll say a couple more things and I'll try to shut up. The assessments billed this year for Bond Area 1 were, as expected, a little bit less than what they've been historically. There's a very simple, what we call level debt service on the Bond Area 1 bond. And what that means for you is that the assessment fee for the next 20 years should be very, 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 very consistent with what it was this year. This year is around $830 odd. Historically, it's been $40, $50, $60 more than that. Bond Area 2 and 3 very well might have different assessment levels, but the assessment fee for the next 20 years in Bond Area 1 will be very, very consistent, because the interest and principal you pay, like many people's mortgage, works at the exact same total amount per year. A lot of times I get a question which sounds like, as more and more people buy homes and build homes, will my assessments go down? The answer to that is no. There's theoretically 840 single-family parcels in Bond Area 1. Most, not all, have homes on them. As the other ones build out into homes, that will not affect the fee that each lot will pay. So again, if you are fortunate to own a home in Bond Area 1, you should expect a $830 odd, and it will move a little bit year to year, but not much for the next 20 years. I'll rest there and take questions. I don't have an agenda nor timeline. I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have. From the nature of this, I suspect the questions will start to get a little bit repetitive, but as I say, I'm here at your pleasure and happy to stay late if anybody has questions. First question.
Since ignorance was bliss and I didn't know about this bond until 2 weeks ago, could you give us a brief history of how the bond came about?
Sure.
And what decisions were made, and how long is the bond?
Sure. So I'll hit your first question that you didn't exactly ask, but I'll hit it initially. There is a general expectations on the county's part, and there's a general expectation on anybody who works in this business's part that there's disclosure, that there's transparency, that there's information that's shared, that when you buy a home in a district such as this, you become aware of it. I cannot speak globally, or I should say, I cannot speak specifically in every instance, but I can say that in general, the developer and builders here have put forth very good effort to try to make people aware of the assessments as they bought a home, to the level of having people sign pieces of paper, having a piece of paper in the closing document. I want to stress, I'm not the developer, I don't represent the developer, I'm not the bondholder, I don't represent the bondholder, I represent the county. I can assure you the county has every desire for its residents to be made well aware of this from the time that they buy a house. To the extent you were not made aware of it, I would suggest you talk to the people you bought your house from, and go back through the papers, talk to your closing attorney, title attorney, and South Carolina is charged with figuring that out. To the extent you can 100% determine that you were not made aware of it, I'd like to know about that. And then we'll work on improving that. I can assure you the county has a very strong desire, and that's one of the reasons I'm hired as administrator to make sure that happens. But I don't want to suggest otherwise, but do keep me posted. So to your original question, sorry for the sidebar. 2006, the district was created. That is a function of the property owner at the time wanting to levy an assessment on its own land. So what does that really mean? It means the property owner says to the county, I want there to be public improvements beyond what's normal at this development. I want to put a burden on my own land. I want to pay an extra fee, not a tax, an extra fee for the next 30 years. I want to pay this much. I want to use that annual revenue stream from the land that I, the developer, owns and the land I'm going to sell, come back to that in a minute, to generate $1 million, or $2 million, or $1.5 million, or $3 million a year in order to have a recurring, solid, predictable revenue stream over a long period of time to allow interest and principal to be paid. If those, that structure can be put in place, then the county can issue a tax-exempt bond, generate $20 million, and use the $20 million to build public improvements. This is a tool that is used in 49 states around the country. It's not common per se in that most developments don't use it, but it is common in that it's used with great regularity around the country. I already mentioned one across the highways. Lancaster County has a few others. Many counties in the state have zero. Many counties in the state have multiple ones. The principle is that you use a tax-exempt county borrowing over a long period of time at a good interest rate to fund public improvements that would not otherwise be here. Those fees are paid by property owners, all property owners, including the developer in a district, willingly, with transparency, with full knowledge you're going to pay them. And what you get for that is you get public improvements here that would not otherwise be here. You get some public improvements that you might think are kind of mundane. You get some public improvements that probably had to be here anyway, but you do get some public improvements that very well might not be here otherwise. At the end of the day, it's a financing program to pay for public improvements over a long period of time amongst many property owners to generate additional special public improvements that provide benefit to what we call a special benefit to the property owners in the district. For to note, it's a public improvement. That means if you live across 521, if you live in Columbia, South Carolina, if you live in Montana, if you live in England, you can come here and use that public improvement. It's a public improvement, but the people in the district knowingly said, I'll pay extra because I'm going to get a special benefit from that public improvement because I live right here.
What are those public improvements? Can you give us examples?
Yeah, so the EMS station at their end of Parkway, parks down here, some of the roads that are here. So as I said earlier, some of them are mundane, but some of them are things that would not otherwise be here if that bond issuance wasn't done. So in 2006, the bond was issued, 30-year bond, that's normal, paid for it over 30 years. The original 30-year term is still relevant, and after about 9 odd years, a portion of that original $24 million bond was refinanced. That's what I referred to earlier, Bond Area 1. So Bond Area 1 is roughly speaking about 35 to 40% of the entire 2,000 units that are going to be here, and roughly 30 to 40% of the bond issuance is taken out. The original term of 30 years was left in place for Bond Area 1. So the time period that a property owner here would have paid for initially, 30 years, remains the case. We are currently in year 10. After you make the payment this year, it's due on January 15, 2017. It'll be 20 more years. The refunding that was done in February for Bond Area 1 had the benefit of obtaining a better interest rate, which allows the amount that we're going to bill to Bond Area 1 property owners to drop by, this year drop by, $30, $40, $50. Not a huge amount, but a good between 5 and 10% reduction. There's no longer any money in the till. What I mean by that is the bond was issued, as normal. The dollars from that bond issuance are utilized to build public improvements. The public improvements have been built. Did they all turn out exactly like was expected? Maybe not. Were there some erosion issues? Maybe. Did the park get built? Yes. Did the EMS station get built? Yes. But in general, the playout was what was expected in terms of the original bond utilization.
But all these public improvements are supposed to be for the subdivision, or could it be used?
No, all
Anywhere
that
in the
money
county.
is used in the district. So all that money is used in the district.
So anywhere in the county?
No, the district, when you do one of these issues, you create funds. You do a bond issue, you create funds, use the funds to build public improvements that provide a special benefit for this district. So we're not, because they didn't use the money to build roads somewhere else. They didn't use the money to build a fire station 6 miles away. They used those dollars to build public improvements here in the district.
When you
Actually, this gentleman was one over here first. Sure.
Yes, I think the question that most of us want to know is why are the property owners and not the developers paying this assessment?
Well, that would be an inaccurate statement. The property owner, the developer is the property owner, and they pay the assessment as well. They have from the get-go. Now, there was a time 3 or 4 years ago while they asked for what is called forbearance, but that did not wipe out their obligation to pay this year in bond area 1, 840, what will become 840 single-family lots in bond area 1. The developer still owns 100 to 150 of those. Those parcels got billed assessments. They pay the same $830 per parcel.
May I piggyback on her question then? For new individuals that are coming in and purchasing a new home that is in Area 1 that's part of the bond, are they paying the same amount as those of us who have been here for X amount of time?
Yes, think of it as a assessment fee on a piece of land. That piece of land has already been here. Has it been turned into a single-family lot? Maybe, maybe not. The current makeup of bond area 1 is, generally speaking, and don't, these numbers will not be precise, but think of it as 600 single-family lots that are owned privately. Another roughly 100, 150 that are single-family lots that are owned by the builders who are in the process of building homes and then selling those. And then call it another 100-odd lots that are still within larger, undivided pieces of property that will become 100 single-family lots. So the developer still owns those, and they get billed assessments on those just like single-family lot owners.
Thank you. There's a question back there.
To your point now, just like Mr. Redford said,
Here's Mr. Rivers, sorry.
that gentleman
Okay,
right
sorry,
there.
thank you.
I've been
Mr.
here,
Math guy, you got the math.
I've been here since '08. So that means I'm in this bond already X amount of years. So if I want to sell my home to a new owner, where does that bond start? Is it prorated? Or, okay, so from '08 up to this point, 8 years,
You paid it,
I've paid it, so they would pick up the rest of the 30 years, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
So it's not a debt on you, it's a
Okay.
debt on a piece of land. You do not have to pay it when you sell it. It, what's called, runs with the land. And it will continue to be built against that land. If a very unfortunate thing happens, your house burns down, and you don't live there, hope that doesn't happen, there's still an assessment on that piece of dirt. So there's still gonna be an assessment fee billed to the owner of that piece of land. It's not a function of a home being there, it's not a function of who owns it, it's a function of this piece of property in the Edenville district. Yes, ma'am.
If there are currently around 680 homes here paying $830, we're paying about $600,000 total a year in this tax. If we're to be built out between 2,300 and 2,500 homes, that's $2 million a year. Are you trying to say that the developer's paying the shortfall currently?
No, so if you go back to your first one called 600 homes, but there's another 240 pieces of land in bond area 1. So add another 830 times those other lots. You are right, it's about $600,000 or $700,000 a year. Those dollars are used to pay for the Walnut Creek bond area 1 bond, which is about $8.4 million. All the lands in bond area 2 and bond area 3, those still have assessments split the district into pieces, and the bonds have been separated as well. Bond area one is 840 parcels, it's got the obligation to pay assessments. Those assessment revenues pay for an $8.4 million bond issuance that is limited solely to bond area one.
So all these homes in this area pay for bond one, and then the homes for bond two and bond three over here, those people will pay for
The
those.
bonds are being separated, the districts are being separated.
So it was original, sorry.
Try to keep it, or back to follow-up.
I have a follow-up question. What is the chance that this bond is going to be called?
It's a good question. The way these bonds work is the bond buyers, investors, people who buy the bonds, typically negotiate, for lack of a better word. They say, we're interested in buying these bonds, but we want what's called 10-year call protection. Because the people who buy the bonds, who spend the money to invest in it, they put forth a fair bit of effort to understand it, so they have a call protection period. What that means is this bond's not going to change anytime soon. I'll get the word back out whether it's 10 years or 12 years, but the bond will, for all intents and purposes, not change for the next 10 years. To the extent we all find ourselves in the great position 10 years later, the interest rates are even lower than what they've been right now, which is a little bit hard to fathom, where they've gone up recently. The county could do what it just did, refund the bonds and take out the bonds and lead to a replacement bond, call it in year 11, and the interest rate might be a little bit better, and everybody might pay a little bit less. That is possible, but not very likely. In all likelihood, these bonds will remain in place for the next 20 years. They're not going to be called, they're not going to be taken out. That's a good lead-in to a point that's worth mentioning to everybody. A special feature of these districts, a special feature of these bonds, which is not common for municipal bond issuances, is that anybody who owns property in a district such as this has the individual right to prepay their assessment. What that means is you could write one check. I would be the person to help you organize that. This happens very, very rarely, but it does happen. You can write one check that would be in the neighborhood of, call it $9,500. That amount will vary depending on when we do it, but if you did it in June of 2017, you could write one check for $9,500, give or take a couple $100. As I say, it'll vary depending on when we do it. If you did that, you would not be billed $830 odd for the next 20 years. Everybody has that individual right. To date, nobody's done that. Nobody's done that across the street at Sun City. It happens rarely. As a general rule, you have a very good interest rate on your money, but you do have the right to do that. If you did do that, some of the bonds would get retired from your $9,500. If everybody did that, which is impossible to fathom, but if everybody wrote a $9,500 check in bond area one, we would take out the whole bond issue. But that just doesn't happen. But to the extent anybody would like to do that, and I think that's a good use, I'd be happy to talk to you about that and give you the pros and cons of that if you wish. But as I say, it happens very, very rarely for some reasons.
What
One
is this bond rated?
It's what's called a term bond, serial bond. It has a lot of different pieces. Part of it's 3%, part of it's 4%, part of it's 5%. Depends on what's called the term strip of it. But all-in interest rate is in the low threes.
No, the rating. What's the bond rated?
These bonds were not rated. These are what's called unrated bonds, and these bonds. That might sound bad, but it's not bad. The rating. In general, rule of thumb for these types of bonds for land secure assessment districts, they're not rated like a typical municipal bond. They're studied for the dynamics and the specifics and the particulars of this particular district. I can tell you that this district, it's a strong district for the simple reason that there are not a lot of empty lots. If you think about a bond investor for one of these districts, and this happens with some regularity, well, it happened in this case, if you invest in a bond for a district that has no homes, there's risk there, right? There's risk that the when you invest in one of these bonds, when you have, call it 75% built out, there's not a lot of risk. People generally pay their tax bill, and if you pay your tax bill, you pay your assessment fee. Your house is worth enough that you're not going to walk away from your assessment fee, which turns into high level of security, which turns into a good interest rate. In the back.
With the accelerated build rate over the last year or so in Walnut Creek, what's the chances, or are projections even done, or what's the chances that the bond would be paid off?
Yeah, so that, I tried to answer that earlier, that the speed at which the homes are built has no impact on this bond. So, if we ran into another great recession tomorrow, and the Lennars and Pulte's and all the different builders, I'm probably missing, I know I'm missing a few here, stop building any houses here, and we stay at 650 homes as scenario one or scenario two, they build all of them tomorrow and sell them all Wednesday. Neither of those outcomes changes the impact on every piece of land here is going to pay $830. What does matter, for bond area 2 and 3 is to the extent bond area 2 and 3 blow out really fast and they continue to sell like homes in bond area 2 and 3, changes will happen in the bond area 2 and 3 bonds quicker. Those might get refinanced and things could happen there. But bond area 1 is already built out, largely speaking. It's already set. Whether the remaining 100 homes gets built slow or fast will not impact the bond area 1 bonds, nor will it impact the fee that the owners of property in bond area 1 pay.
Were there any advantages for individual homeowners in separating out the districts, or was
Yeah,
that just
I said that earlier. One of the core reasons to do this split was to get a better interest rate for the property owners in bond area 1. So I alluded to that earlier. Let me say that for everybody's benefit. If you're a bond investor, you love investing in these bonds when people have homes there. So if you look at this district in total, you say, wow, this is only 30% built out. There's some risk in investing in a bond for a district that's 30% built out, which is the whole 2,000 entire Walnut Creek deal. You can carve it into a smaller piece and say, this piece is 840 homes, and it's 75% built out, and create a bond issuance just for that piece. You can get a better interest rate for that smaller amount. That's what happened, and the impact of that is the assessment fee for property owners in bond area 1 dropped. And not, the county's my client, so I'm, speaking on their behalf, but it is 100% accurate to say that was a goal, one of the goals, or multiple goals, but one of the goals of this. And the county, y'all were residents of the county, you voted for your representatives. That was an important goal for the county, and it was accomplished. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where does this bond show up and how much is this bond for? I mean, how much are each individual paying on that bond? Like my property.
Yeah, so the bond, Walnut Creek Bond Area 1 bond went out at about $8.4 million.
Pardon?
Walnut, what's called Walnut Creek Bond Area 1, which is what we're talking about, the area of this district, it's an $8.4 million bond.
Yeah, how much is my,
Yeah, so call it 8.4, I'm gonna do some real simple math, $8.5 million bond, 840 pieces of property in there, everybody's, if you took that relationship down, you'd say your portion of that bond is about $10,000.
how much am I paying? Is my property paying of that bond?
You pay this year you got billed $830 odd. It's on your real property tax bill, $830 and change, it's on your tax bill.
And where does that show up?
Well, it shows up on your real property tax bill. So when you write a check,
The tax bill doesn't say bond, it says fees.
it should say special assessment fee, Walnut Creek. I don't have a copy
It
of that in
just
front of
said-
me, but in general, they say.
To answer your question, it shows up as fees,
Right.
and that's where it will show up here.
And what is that
It's tax
fee
bill.
giving us? I mean,
Well, you're paying principal and interest.
pardon?
Your fee plus another 840 people are paying principal and interest on a bond, and that bond is being retired, and that bond was taken out 10 years ago to build public improvements that are here. So that park down the street got built
Okay.
from that bond.
All right, so how many, all right, When it's all built out, everybody's gonna be paying the same amount, right?
Everybody in Bond Area 1 is already paying the same amount. Every piece of land in Bond Area 1 is already paying the same amount.
But people coming in buying are gonna be paying the same amount.
But think of it more, the Lennar that owns a piece of property, they're building a house on it, Lennar's paying that $830 right now. When they sell it to somebody else, someone's gonna take that responsibility from Lennar. If you sell your house to somebody else, someone's gonna take that responsibility from
I
you.
realize that, but if we're talking 2,000 homes,
No, I'm talking 840 homes. We're talking 840 homes in Bond Area 1. That's all we're talking about. The rest of Walnut Creek, Bond Area 2 and 3, we're not talking about that. When those homes and lots get sold, that collection of property will also pay assessments, and that collection of assessment revenue will pay for different bonds that I don't have any say-so in or thought process. So your piece is distinct, and you're paying off a bond that is a portion of the original bond issue, which was used to fund public improvements here.
well, I don't even know why we should be paying any portion of the bond. The developer should be paying them.
Well, again, let me state this, this was set up with the bondholder, with the county, with the developer, with all property owners, very transparent way, very full public process. And when people bought land here, in general, because I've talked to many, many people, the assessments were documented, signed for, made aware of people. In your case, I can't say. In everybody's case, I can't say. But I can say in general, the collection of developer builders have done a decent to good to great job of making property owners aware of the assessments. Now, admittedly, when you buy a piece of property here, you've got a lot on your mind. But they have gone as far as, and importantly, gone as far as having people sign pieces of paper saying aware of this assessment. Yes, well, I don't know where to go next. So, you already asked the question, I'll go to you.
I've heard two different things, and I'll walk everybody going over this. But when I was buying the house, people said, I was told of the assessment, that it was on the parks and everything. Then I moved in, and a homeowner within the neighborhood I was talking to said, that's what they're telling you, but all of this money is going to pay for the infrastructure, the roads, the lights, the drainage. and
It's a
all
lot of
that.
things, yeah. So it's not one thing, it's a collection of public improvements.
So it's,
So it's some, I used the word earlier, some of them are what you might think of as a little mundane, some of them are more distinct, but that's the nature of this business. You pay for all sorts of public improvements. You might think it's just a road, right? But sometimes roads are wider. You might think it's just a sidewalk, but a lot of developments don't have a sidewalk. You might think it's just a street tree, but that street tree might not be here. So you have to be careful in it. I could pull it somewhere up my computer, but it's a broad collection of different public improvements. Gentleman there, yes, sir.
Mr. Wilson, first, I wanted to say thank you for coming and joining us today.
My pleasure.
You've been remarkable with your transparency, and I think that breeds a lot of trust here.
Sure.
And you definitely put my mind at ease. You have the map in front of you.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to point out what is District 1 so that we know?
Yeah, I gotta kind of do it from my map. So, yeah, the original piece of this is Bond Area 1. This is what, I think people call Phase 1. And this little piece, a portion of this that we're currently sitting in, we're sitting here, a portion of this is Bond Area 1. So kind of think of all this as Bond Area 1. And
The pink area?
pink area is Bond Area 1. And then a portion that kind of sticks up into here is also Bond Area 1. So it's a little bit spread out, but think of it as the first areas that were built. Bond Area 2 kind of wraps around it. You got a lot of Bond Area 2 down here, over here. Bond Area 3 is going to be up here. The townhome area over here is Bond Area 2. I mentioned that earlier. I think those are all, that's a townhome area there. So, admittedly, it's an odd shape, but if there's a logic to it, it was the original 840 lots that were coming on fast. So I referred to that earlier, that's to help generate a very secure pile of real estate on which lots are already generated, homes are going up, people are living there for the benefit of qualifying for the best interest rate. If it had been bigger, it would have had more undeveloped land in it. If it had been smaller, it wouldn't have given that benefit to as many people. Is it just right? Maybe not, but it was could be clearly identified about a year ago, trying to craft a significant portion of Walnut Creek into a serviceable area to take that significant amount of money. Yes, ma'am.
Now, how do you know if you're in bond area 1 or bond area 2?
Well, in general, I think everybody, if you bought a house that that was built in the last couple months, come see me afterwards and we'll find you on the map and I'll tell you. But in general, I think most people here, if you don't live in a townhome, you're in bond area 1. Bond area 2 is a very recent occurrence. I doubt you're in bond area 2, but I'm happy to look at the map with you and show you where it is.
Well, when we moved in, it said phase 2, so is
That's
phase
not-
2
yes, it
mean
is
then?
like this is- There's plenty of phase 2 that's in bond area 1. Bond area 2 is, generally speaking, not yet built out. They have started to create some lots there. The townhomes are really one of the first things that's coming out of bond area 2. D.R. Horton has built, I understand that D.R. Horton has built some townhomes, but not many. So if you, does anybody live in a townhome here? I think everybody here is bond area 1, but if you bought a house a month ago, it's possible you bought it from a builder who took down some lots in bond area 2 recently, but I don't think so.
Okay, so if we bought our house a year and a half ago,
You're in bond area 1.
okay, so say it's a 30-year bond and we bought it a year and a half ago, are we responsible for 30 years
You're
or
responsible for
until
20,
it's?
you got 20 to 20 more. This year's payment is number 10 of 30. There are 20 more assessment fee billings to you coming up. So once you pay this year, I don't know if you've already paid your real property tax bill this year, it might be in your mortgage. It's due to the county on January 15th, 2017. That will include $830, which is your 10th of 30. You've got 20 more years. Yes, ma'am. Correct, I heard that from somebody. If you sell it, the person you sell it to
Picks up the bond.
takes that, yeah. This might or might not help.
You gotta get them to pick up the 800 additional dollars every year too, so.
Well, that just becomes part of what they're buying. So when they're buying a piece of property, they know they're gonna pay taxes on it. When they buy a piece of property here, they know there's gonna be an extra $830 on that fee. They buy one on the other side of Jim Wilson Road, they're not gonna pay that. If they wanna live near the park, they might say it's worth it, I'll pay the extra amount.
I'm just saying though, when you're going to sell, that it becomes a liability.
100% agree, the price that, this maybe is obvious, but let me just say that there, please don't take this negatively. To the extent you knew about this fee when you bought here,
I knew about that, I had to pay an $850 fee.
right, so when you knew about that, when you bought here, you factored that into your
I
equation.
factored a one-time $850 fee.
Well,
Because they
that's,
said, hey, there's a bond, it's $850, that's what the guy told me, he didn't say, it's a
so
bond for 20-some years. So.
I don't have,
I know, but I'm just saying.
I
there's a lot
don't
of people
want
out there-
anybody to walk around out of here, thinking that
It's not you, and it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with it, it's the builder who's selling it.
yeah.
Did not make it that clear, and I got a neighbor on both sides, and one neighbor didn't even know there was a
Yeah.
bond.
Well, I can't comment on that, but in general, the goal was to explain that, and it was, I know, written down to say that, and I know the title attorneys who in general have worked here, have done their best to explain that to people, to the extent you didn't understand it. I'm sorry that happened, but a lot of effort has gone.
Whatsoever.
Right.
I understand what you're, I've told you that it simply is a matter of, they said there's a bond, okay, I didn't mind paying $50, but I didn't realize.
You didn't know you had
that
it.
for the next 20 years.
Fair critique, you can't say much more, but you're right, that's a difference. Yes, sir.
Mr. Commissioner, I understand the roads and the bridges, and the lighting and all that stuff. But why isn't that county-wide as opposed to right here? And because we're paying a bond on the park and all that sort of stuff, we aren't getting maintenance over there the way we should.
Yeah. Well, the collection of public improvements is broad. It's got some things in it that you might say would be here naturally, and they very well might have been here, but the collection of public improvements was crafted early on, made sense at the time, it was well negotiated, well put through the ringer, county approved it, and it's just aware, there's some things that, it did not suffer from under lawyer or under public notice. All those things happened, well written down. You might not think some of them are special, but all of them are providing a benefit that is distinctive if you live here. You're getting a greater benefit from that park if you live 5 miles away. Can the person who lives 5 miles away use it? Yes, it's a public park. But the benefit is greater. It is special if you live close to it. On the subject of maintenance, we can't answer that as a public park. It doesn't deserve from your assessment fee any special maintenance. It's a county park. The assessment was used to fund the capital cost of it, to put it into service, but the county still has to maintain it. Your taxes go towards the maintenance of all type of county assets, including that park and other parks in the county. If you don't think the maintenance is good enough, you should contact Parks and Rec, speak to the county Parks and Recreation Department. And, you know, sometimes, I don't know the deal here, but sometimes, in other districts we've worked in, HOAs have something to do with maintenance. Don't know whether that's the case here. But, the assessment fee is paying off the bond to cover the capital cost of that park, not the maintenance.
Well, nothing against you, but honestly, it sounds to me like a deal that's worthy of Trump.
Well, as someone who did not vote for.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. I don't take any offense at that, but, it's a public finance tool. It's used to help create public improvements that would not otherwise be in place. It is used effectively if there's transparency and everybody knows about it. Some of the critiques have certainly indicated I wasn't aware, it wasn't explained well, but the tool is used across the country to provide things that would not otherwise be there. I can say in general, a lot of developments, maybe this one, maybe not, wouldn't be here if this tool wasn't part of the financing package to put it together. Or it would be here and it would look totally different. You know, just it wouldn't be the same. So it was an integral part of how this development was dreamed up, financed, built out. Right or wrong? Yes, sir.
For the sake of continuing transparency,
Yes, sir.
I love that word.
Yeah.
Is there an annual independent audit of fees collected by the county and then dispersed for the payment of the principal and interest on the bond?
Yes. What we call it a little bit, we call it a little bit different, but yes. So there are two things that I'll reference, and there are probably some other things as well that are deep in the county's book. But one thing that I write every year, I write two things every year. One is we call it a annual special assessment report. And what we do with that report is we look at the amount of money we billed last year, we look at how it was utilized last year to pay debt service last year, assessment fees, including all $830 paid by all the people in the stream, also paid for the administrative cost of the district, including the administrator who answers phone calls and occasionally comes to Walnut Creek to answer questions. There are attorneys involved in on behalf of the county, so there are administrative fees, there's a bond trustee. Our fees are paid for from the same assessment dollars. We have to estimate what those fees are going to be at the beginning of the year. We know what the debt service is gonna be. Inevitably, the amount you estimate is not exactly the amount that we pay. So every year, I can do a calculation, how many dollars are left over from the assessments bill last year. We use any excess dollars from last year's estimates to help fund our need for the coming year. We run through the calculation, see what debt service is, see what principal and interest, bill a very, very similar amount. It might be $829 next year, it might be $838 next year. Every year those dollars are collected, we keep track of, the county does a very good job keeping track of who doesn't pay their tax bills. If you don't pay your tax bill, your property is gonna go to tax sale, but you're also not gonna pay your special assessment fee. What I mean by that is you can't pay your taxes and not your special assessment fee, nor can you pay your special assessment fee and not your taxes. So the county's already dialed in to a high degree of detail to keep track of who's paying. The county receives that check from you. Your check might be $2,800 a year for your taxes, your fire fee, your special assessment fee. They split that up. The assessment fee goes into one bucket. They send it to the bond trustee. The bond trustee keeps all that money, $830 from everybody. They pay the principal. They pay the interest. They pay the administrative costs. Every year I look at the reconciliation of all that, keep track of that. Every year, that report that I write generates the dollar amount to bill the next year. Every year, county council approves that report, typically in August or September, because we need to get it done before the tax bills go out in October, and every year it'll show the history of that, and it's repetitive. In addition to that, on behalf of really the trustee and the bondholders, they want to see what's called a continuing disclosure report, which is partially about what you just asked on assessment fees, but it's also descriptive of how many homes were built, how many lots are still owned by the developer, how many lots are still owned by builders, how have assessment collections been, what's the assessed value of the land. Bondholders are interested in the average value of your home relative to the amount you pay on the subject matter of, they can feel very comfortable that you're going to pay if your home's worth a lot. That's an annual continuing disclosure report. We write that every January. It gets posted to the bond market. That's public information as well. You can read about that. In addition to all that, in the county's audited financials, they make mention of these districts and keep track of some information, but not any kind of great detail. So there's a variety of different pieces that show how all that fits together. I can boil it down real simply to the assessment fees paid by the property owners in bond area 1 are tightly controlled, used for a very specific purpose, held in the trustees' accounts, and reconciled on a month-by-month basis. They don't leak out to pay for other things. And to the extent we ever overestimate what the cost of the district would be, the benefit of that flows through to the next year. Does that help? Yes, ma'am. Who has not asked a question? You already asked me. There you go. Thank you.
Almost called on.
Sorry.
Just simple question, is that assessment tax deductible?
That's a difficult question to answer. That is, you need to talk to your CPA. But simplistically, I'm just going to leave it at that. But if you'd like your CPA to call me. By the way, let me just give everybody my phone number. My phone number is 704-914-6411. 704-914-6411. We're public finance consultants, but we don't have anything to do with taxes, so I can't give tax advice. But the basic rule of thumb is,
Absolutely.
of course, depending on the year, timing, and variables like that, a portion of that fee, your CPA might tell you that a portion of that fee is the equivalent of paying taxes.
Because I haven't been doing it, but someone suggested that maybe there was a deduction.
Got to talk to your CPA, I can't relate. Yes, sir.
You work for a county, right?
County's my client. I work for a firm called Unicap, so I work for a company. I'm an employee of a company. My company's been hired to help the county administer.
6411.
So yes, I work for the county. It'd been easier if I said that.
is, why would the county allow the builders or the landowners to borrow money just to say, when I build a home, the homeowners can pay back this money for it?
Yeah, good question. So, picture yourself as a county commissioner 10 years ago, and a developer says, look, I'd like to bring some economic development to your county. I can build this development. We can put some homes out here. Charlotte's growing. People are either going to live across the border in Waxhaw, or we could put 2,000 homes right here. They're going to be, good homes. They're going to help the county's coffers. They're going to provide real property tax revenue to the county. It's going to bring citizens here. It's going to bring jobs here. So the county might say, yeah, we need more of that. In Lancaster County, as many counties in South Carolina are not, they're not. Some people might suggest they they don't have the resources that Richland County or Columbia has, or Charleston County or Greenville County. So there are many counties, including the county you just mentioned, that are in the business of trying to create economic development. So that developer comes forward, and I'm going to just kind of shift gears and say this could really be any county or any city. City, I need to do a public-private partnership. If you can help me do this, where I'm putting a burden on my own land, I own this land, I'm putting a burden on my own land. If we can use a tax-exempt borrowing to build some things like sidewalks, like an EMS station, like a park, I can get this development done. I'm putting a burden on my own land. When I sell my land to people, I'm going to make sure they know good and well they're going to have to pay for it. No one's going to be forced to pay for it. If I don't sell a single lot, I'm going to be writing that check myself every year. I, developer, am going to effectively fund the cost of a new EMS station that's going to provide a benefit here, but it's going to provide a general benefit for the county. I'm going to build a park here. We, the developer, people I sell land to, are going to build a public asset. That's the short answer why cities and counties support public public finance tools like this. It all rests on the assumption that people who buy here will do that on their own choice and think it makes sense to do that, and that it works. This does work across the country. It works in 49 states. People like doing things like this. In many states, it does provide a benefit that would not otherwise happen. Does everybody do it? No. Could the developer have gone to Bank of America and borrowed another $20 million and funded that park and just given the park to the county? Yes, they could have done that. Would their basis in the land have been higher? Yes. It would have been higher. Would they have sold the dirt at a higher price? Yes. There are many, many ways to do it, but this tool will allow for something to happen that would not otherwise have happened in this particular time frame.
Let's see, on that note.
That's general. I want to stress that's a very general answer, not this county's answer. That's a general answer to why these districts get created in the first place.
Okay, on that note, I built my home here. I'm helping the developer who got all of this money from the county.
I appreciate you might think of it that way, but you chose to, assuming transparency, assuming you understood it, you chose to pay an extra $850 to be in.
Okay, I got it. You said that earlier.
Right.
What I want to know is, why did the county allow the developer to say, I'm gonna do it this way? If I build a home, the homeowners will help pay back this loan. Why? If you want to sell your land, then you should take up all of those costs. Why did the county allow him to say the homeowners will help me pay back the money that I borrowed from you?
Well, fair question. Some districts get created in other places, in other cities and counties when, that are, think of them as shorter term. And when the developer, not here, but in other places, the district can be created like that. And when they sell the lot to a builder, the assessment gets paid off. And therefore, it doesn't run downstream to the person who buys the house. But you asked, why did the county allow it? The county said, so long as people know they're buying into it, this is a good way to finance the project. You know, if, in your scenario, which is, as I acknowledging, happens time to time, for that to work, when the developer sells that piece of land to the builder, it would have had to be paid for. So the short answer is it wouldn't give the long-term benefit. It does, to your point, assume transparency and everybody's aware of it. When you can qualify for a good interest rate, when you qualify for long-term debt, it makes sense to do it. If the city or county can put a piece of long-term debt in place at a good interest rate, that's a good piece of financing for a project that is not available in other places. You can go to Bank of America, get another $20 million for 5 years, but that costs you more, it's not as efficient. There are reasons why you want long-term taxes and borrowings in place. It's just another way to finance a project well. If that's not, I'm happy to talk about it more with you if you like, but who has not asked a question?
Over there.
Okay,
Question for you.
yes, sir.
It has nothing to do with you, but we bought our home from Walnut. They never mentioned it. My realtor never mentioned it. My closing attorney never mentioned it. A year after I'm here, they put the assessment on my tax. I have no alternative. But if I was aware of it, I would have went across the line in Waxhaw. Why did I come here?
Well, let me take that apart. So, you bought it from Horton. How long ago did you buy it?
2 years.
Okay,
August
so
1st.
it's not impossible that nobody told you about it.
No one did.
Okay, fair, I hear you loud and clear. Many cases, they have told people about it. To answer the second part of your question, why was it not on your tax bill before that? The simple answer is the parcel probably didn't exist 30 years ago. So whenever that parcel got created, and I know this because I've done the work, we have billed assessments to parcels as they are created. Not as homes are built, not as it's sold to Horton, not as it's sold to you. Those are insignificant facts. When a parcel is created and it becomes a parcel of record and gets a tax bill, that's when the assessment fee has been built in. So if you bought a piece of property, I'll give you an example. Let's say your lot was platted, that's the real estate term, you probably know what that means, in November of 2013. So it became a formal piece of property, carved out from a bigger piece of property in November 2013. It existed on December 31st, 2014. It got a tax bill in the 2014 cycle. So the tax bill that went out in October 2014, 11 months after it's created, that tax bill had a $875 assessment fee on it. Now that tax bill was probably sent to the owner of record on January 1 of that year, which was not you, you know. It was probably still the developer. They probably sold it to the developer, the developer probably sold it to the builder in March. The builder probably built it from March to July and sold it to you in August. I don't know what that first tax bill is, but it didn't go to you because you didn't own it at the start of the year. But I can assure you the assessment fee was on that first bill.
There was just no transparency.
Yeah. Well,
To be honest with you,
yeah.
I would have just went somewhere else and bought a home.
Fair critique, and I can't answer that other than I know the county's cared about it. The county has pressed. I have put effort into telling the developer what they have to do. I don't have a cudgel. I don't have a hammer, but there's been effort put in place to do it. Title attorneys. By the way, this is not a critique, but not everybody knows this. Buyers of land choose title attorneys. Sellers of land often suggest a title attorney to use, but buyers of land select the title attorney to use. If your title attorney, and I'm not saying that clearly, not the title attorney they suggested, the title attorney you agreed to use, didn't tell you about it, then your title attorney didn't do all they could have done.
That was actually the law firm that did the closing.
That's what I mean.
my title attorney.
Yeah, but you selected that. You might not have thought about it that way, but in South Carolina, the buyer of property has the right to select
Yeah, I didn't
their
know
title.
that, so.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
One question. Okay, two.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
How many people here were told about the bond?
Well, y'all can take a poll. I'm not really here to take that poll, but if y'all want to take that poll,
Second question.
yeah.
If I want to sell my home.
Well, you know what, I'm gonna answer a little different. Of all the people I've talked to on the phone over the years, a low percentage finish that conversation or call me back to say, I looked through all my papers and it wasn't there. It happens, but very, very rarely. What happens a lot of times, people don't want to call it, but what I'm hearing here, let me just be clear, what I'm hearing here is enough repetition on I didn't know that it's having an effect on me. I get that, but in general, it's rare that people were not told on paper.
Second question. I wasn't told.
Okay?
If I were to sell my home, do I have to disclose about this?
So there's not a law that, you're not breaking a law if you don't tell somebody. The right thing to do, the transparent thing to do is to make them aware of the fact that this gentleman's question, the buyer of that property from you is, I'm gonna assume they're gonna look at the most recent tax bills. I'm gonna assume their title attorney the closing attorney is gonna tell them, and I really probably spoke earlier, I've been meaning to talk about the closing attorney who does the title work, but the attorney who does that transaction on behalf of the buyer will find a record of that if they do their job. And the buyer of the property from you will see, when they look at the tax bills, what are the taxes on this property? What is this assessment fee?
And you
So,
know that if that happens, people could back out from the deal.
That's right, that's right.
sure, so to your benefit, to tell them that, from the get-go, if you hire a realtor, the realtor should tell them about it. You'd be wasting your time if you don't tell them about it and they find about it.
But yet, we couldn't say anything when D.R. Horton sold to us. We couldn't say anything.
Well, you could not.
It was too late. It was
Well,
too late.
I hear you didn't know, but, I don't know what your contract with Gilmore says or not. And I know you sign papers at different points in time, but as a general rule, if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware of it, you would have, I can't go there. I'm not gonna go there, but I'm not in the business of really auditing the papers I sent to you, but to the extent you've looked through all your closing papers, it's not there, I'm the recipient of that information, and I'll take that and make it right. I am gonna come back to you, but since you already had a question, Well, you did already have a question, have you asked a question?
No.
She hadn't asked a question.
Then go over. So I'm new to the area, new to Walnut.
One meeting, please.
I'm new to Walnut Creek, very new, and just trying to do some due diligence before this meeting. Can you tell me if I read this short list of, if this is a correct list that was promised to build by Mick Mulvaney, who was a real estate developer at the time, who's now a congressman. Tell me if any of these were not built, and if they weren't.
I'll try, but I don't know that I don't.
Well, I think about 200-room hotel was promised to be built, we'd know if it was here, and I'm not being sarcastic. These
Well,
are big things, not like.
Maybe, but that might have been promised independent of the assessment district. So all I can comment on is the assessment district. When a developer does a deal with counties, there are all sorts of things often wrapped up in a document people call it a development agreement. A lot of other things get said, talked about.
Yeah, see, that's where we're getting
outside
into
of
a
our
problem.
realm. The assessment fee, the assessment district is a portion of how this development came to be, but it doesn't have anything to do with Mulvaney, it doesn't have anything to do with the hotel.
Did Mulvaney end up selling the properties?
I've never, until she just told me that, I've heard that guy's name, I know.
Yeah, he supposedly sold it,
Yeah.
there was some article I read that he sold it to his friend or something.
I don't, I'm not saying it's wrong.
Incorrect.
Yeah, but what I can say is that.
He sold it, Nick doesn't own it.
Yeah, Nick sold it, and then that developer was going bankrupt, and then.
It went through a lot of people.
That developer, then a third developer purchased, and that third developer is the developer that sought the financial help for the bond.
Yeah.
So
It had a long history.
Two developers beyond Mr. Mulvaney.
All right, so back, yeah.
So I guess what I'd like to know is, if you don't want me to read this list, I
You can go for it, but I would suggest, I'm probably not gonna be able to answer it.
It would be irrelevant,
You go
because
for it.
there's two developers past the initial plan for Mr. Mulvaney.
I don't represent the county at large, I represent the assessment. So if you think your question might be about the assessment fee, let it rip and see what
No, I guess what I need to know is, where is this, and I very simply calling it a list is just that, just too simple for words, but where's this list that was supposed to be done, built, developed?
Yeah.
Where could I get my hands on this
Yeah,
physically?
I can try to pull it up, but,
Because
short
here's my-
answer
here's
is,
my
back in
real
2006, when the original bond was issued, that bond, there was a clear list of identified projects that bond issuance was set to fund, and it, generally speaking, funded those improvements. Road improvements, leave the park, know the EMS fire station, and a variety of other things. But in this business, you create a district, that's what happens first. You have a laundry list of potential public improvements. A few months or a year or 2 years later, you do a bond issuance. At that time you do a bond issuance, you identify a specific dollar amount that you're borrowing, and you identify what those bond proceeds are gonna be used for.
So if we paid 30 million, technically, we paid 30 million at the end of the day after all the interest, it won't even be that, but if we are going to pay all that money, was everything that was in that list that was promised built? And if it wasn't done, is this ever gonna be reassessed? I mean,
It's not-
if you buy a base model car,
Yeah, it's
I
not,
mean, if you-
it doesn't work quite like that. I
See,
think
that's
where
the
you're
problem.
driving at is, when the bond issuance is done, you borrow money for a relatively specific list of public improvements that you think are gonna cost this much. You think the road's gonna turn here, you think the water and sewer is gonna be 8 inches, and you think the park grading's gonna cost $250,000, but you know what, it might cost $280,000, and other things might cost a little bit less. Sometimes things change and you figure out, you know what, it doesn't make sense to build that road, we're gonna build this road instead. So there's some specifics that you borrow from. Was it built out exactly as it was thought, right, when money was borrowed? Probably not, 'cause it never works out exactly like that. Were the dollars utilized for allowed public improvements according to that bond issuance, according to a lot of legal documents? Yes, to my knowledge. I've never heard any suggestion that's gone through many iterations for 10 years. There has not been a critique, a meaningful critique that I'm aware of that says these improvements weren't built. Did erosion happen faster in some cases? Did roads last as long as they were expected? Did the park get built exactly like somebody might have thought? You know, maybe not, but in general, the money was used as it was expected. I'm unaware of any meaningful critique that says the money evaporated and these public improvements were not built. If anything, as this thing's gotten recreated from the new developer who came in around 2010 and 11, to their credit, they built out a lot of public improvements on their own, with their own money, to actually fix a lot of things and add more things. So the new developer, like any developer, you know, has built plenty of public improvements and deeded them over to the county. I wouldn't suggest I've got an audit of that, but I have not, I probably would be aware of and unaware of any meaningful critique on the public improvements were not built. Okay, back to you. So I'm happy to go to your list afterwards if you want to.
So my question, and I understand that it's a benefit for us to have a park in our neighborhood. I do. It's nice to be able to walk over there, but it is a nuisance to have everybody outside of our neighborhood come to play t-ball and park along the street and have it messy and whatnot. So my question to you is, when you said that the benefit that we have is to have a park in our neighborhood, what are our rights to these bond areas if we're paying into it? And not only just the park, but I've read that there's going to be commercial space and police stations and fire stations. If those are also going to be used outside of the community, then that also creates another nuisance with the sirens going through our neighborhood every time they get called out. do we have any more rights than the neighborhood across the street? I mean, are we gonna get speed bumps faster if we request them, seeing as we pay bond on our streets? Or
That's
do we
the
have to-
assessment fee, they're not paying for any more public improvements. So if you want speed bumps, you gotta get through the normal process on that. I hear you that, you know, certain public improvements you might think are not giving you any benefit, but the logic of all this is that you thought it was gonna provide you a public benefit, provide you agreed to buy a piece of property here, for which you agreed to pay an extra $800 a year.
No, that's not what I'm asking. What are our rights?
You don't have any, so all these, I try to say, all these are public improvements. So if you live in London, you can use it. If you live in Montana, you can use it.
But they're not paying for it. is what
That's
I'm
right,
saying.
so it's not a use, you're not paying because, you don't pay special assessments because you're using it and other people are not using it. You pay special assessments because you're getting a special benefit from it. You might not think you're getting a special benefit from it, but the county made a determination that it is appropriate to do, that with the landowner at that time's consent, this land in this district is going to get a special benefit from these public improvements. The landowner at the time that the assessments were levied championed that idea, consented to it, requested it. The property owner who placed the assessment lien on their property acknowledged they're getting a special benefit. The county agreed. Special benefit was deemed to have been placed on this property. People that come along later and buy into it do that with full awareness of the special benefit.
But now bond area 2 and 3 have not been built, or, I mean, nothing's been put there. So do we have any right to say what we want or what we don't want over there? That's what I'm saying.
So bond area 2 and 3, the public improvements that were built, such as the park and the EMS station, already provide a special benefit for the land that's in bond area 2 and 3. That land is theoretically more valuable because it's near those same public improvements. It's not a function of a house being built. It's not a function of it being a final lot. The land in the greater Edenmore district, which became the greater Walnut Creek district, the land in the huge district, all of it together gets benefit from the public improvements. The public improvements in general are not specific to a house or specific to a bond area. The public improvements are providing benefit for the entire Walnut Creek district.
Right, so the Walnut Creek area, if we decide that we would want something or put something in effect, we want the parking lot to be bigger or for something else to be built in an area that's not developed yet. We have no say on that.
Well, you don't have any say, you also don't have any obligation for that district. You're paying a portion of the original bond issues. You're paying, just some simple math. If Walnut Creek Bond Area 1 is a third, just because we've got 1, 2, 3 of the original district, and it's exactly a third, then it would be paying exactly a third for that park, exactly a third for that EMS station. So you're paying a relative amount. The other properties in Bond Area 2 and 3 are also paying for the same public improvements.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, right now, it's a nuisance to have to drive through there on the weekend when there's a ball game going on. And luckily, it's getting a little more organized where people are parking, but do we not have a say? Are we not gonna be answered a little greater, saying if we're paying for that park, can we not say we need a bigger parking lot? Or if you guys decide to knock it down and turn it into something else, we not gonna
The
say
answer is you probably have that political clout as residents here, but that's independent of the assessment district. So you could suggest to the county that I bought here, I agree, I wanted to live here, I knew about the assessments, I figured out that it's a nuisance, a lot of other have figured out it's a nuisance. We're gonna vote for, we'd like you, county staff, county council, to spend other county money to make the parking lot bigger. And you probably would have some political sway in that, but you don't have rights as the assessment payer to tell the county what to do there. You probably have some political clout to suggest what you would like them to do. But at the end of the day, it's a public improvement that you're close to, but just because you pay the fee doesn't give you any more rights to how it should be operated, or how it should be expanded, or how much maintenance should be done on it,
Hate to leave you, Mr. Wilson, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, yes, sir.
Theoretically, if I build the same house, in bond area two, then I pay more property taxes. Because if I was following what you're saying, the value of the land in bond area two, because of the EMS station, park, which is funded by bond area one.
Let me clarify that. All the public improvements that got built out of the 2006 bond issuance got funded by the entire Eatonmore district, the entire Walnut Creek district. So bond area one is paying assessment fees, but you're not paying for all of that park. You're not paying for all of that fire station, you're not paying for all of the parkway, you're not paying for all of anything. You're paying a portion of the bond debt service.
But if I built in, let's say, bond area two,
Yep.
exact same type of house, because the land is now more valuable, chances are I'll pay higher property.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So, these assessment fees are not ad valorem. Ad valorem is a term that says the amount of tax you pay